All 22, week 4. Hi everybody out there, and hi everybody. I'm going to get started because we're at 6:15. Week 4. Yeah. So the topic tonight is breathing, rolling out with the trigger point, and I'll cover a little bit of stretching too at the end if there's time. But I want to try to get out of here by 6:45 at the absolute latest. So I'm going to start with some breathing exercises. And so anytime you do rolling out or stretching, you want to focus on relaxed, rhythmic, diaphragmatic breathing. And we're going to practice that a little bit tonight, so that you can have a little bit better understanding how effective it can be. And so to try and incorporate that, I'm going to have you get your heart rate. So everybody get ready to take a heart rate check. I'll tell you when to start counting, because I'm looking at the clock up there. Okay, ready? Count. Stop. Okay, so remember what that number was. And now what I'm going to have you do is some deep, fast breathing. Kind of like you're hyperventilating, real nervous, real excited, real scared. Deep, deep breathing. And then keep breathing hard. Okay, get ready to take your heart rate again. Ready? Count. Stop. Okay, chances are your heart rate was quicker. Now, for diaphragmatic breathing, you can do it upright like this, but I am going to lie down and put that little trigger point block on my belly just to show you some, this here. Okay, so you can see when I breathe in, and you can probably see over there too. See the block go up, and when I breathe out, the block goes down. So I'm going to have you do in an upright position, just like you're at right now. Practice some breathing. Way down low, belly breathing, not chest breathing like you just were hyperventilating. That's more chest breathing. When you diaphragmatic or belly breathe, you're going to get a much better capacity of your lungs to get air. And so breathe in, hold, and slowly breathe out. Push it, push it, push it out, and then relax. So you could see when I was breathing in, this block went up. When I was breathing out or exhaling, the block went back down. So we're going to practice that again. So breathe in. Hold. And then slowly breathe out. Keep breathing out. Push it, push it. Okay. Now just breathe kind of normal for a little bit. Just kind of normal. Let yourself just relax. Relax your shoulders, your fingers, your knuckles, your eyebrows. Get ready to get your heart rate. And count. Stop. Came back down. For some of you, maybe it was down even lower than the first time, perhaps. So deep breathing is, it can take a little bit of practice, but once you practice it, it becomes a little more automatic. And a good time to practice it is when you're waiting at a stoplight or waiting in line at the grocery store, and you're kind of impatient, you're in a hurry, you got lots of things to do, but it's just a really good time to practice it. And it's especially good to practice that deep breathing when you're getting ready to stretch or roll out with trigger point. So with trigger point, you know, I'll cut to the chase. A lot of times people say, Susan, why don't you talk a little bit more about stretching, or why don't we stretch before we go? Well, for one thing, there's so much information that we get to cover within the clinic anyway. You know, we can only talk about so much at any one time. And I have learned over the years that increasing elasticity for your muscles, which is like making them more like bungee cord instead of beef jerky. When our muscles are really tight, think beef jerky, they're just tight, and they're more likely to be strained and that kind of thing. Versus bungee cord stretches and relaxes, That's what we want our muscles to be more like. So doing trigger point, which is basically rolling out, regardless of what kind of tools we use, rolling out is kind of like do-it-yourself massage. And trigger points are areas of tension that hurt. And so we want to get that tension out. And one of the most effective ways to do it is to roll out. And then once we roll out and then stretch, that stretching is that much more effective. Okay? So I'm going to start with some basic lower leg rolling out, and I'm going to sit upright so I can get air, and I'm going to put my lower leg on that grid. It's called the trigger point grid. It has different densities of this foam, and it's also hollow with PVC pipe in there, and so as your body adapts to the softer part, then you can allow a little more body weight to go onto it. And that's why sometimes I really, really like this type of rolling out in contrast to something like this or this. These are also really good, and people say, well, what's the best way? Well, the best way is the way that you're going to use, right? The thing about these, and they're great, but you got to be able to reach with your arms. You can't have any back issues that would, not permit you to reach. You also got to use some arm strength, and that's fine if you can do that. And sometimes this is a little more convenient if you're not going to get down on the ground. Like, let's say you go to an event or you're not going to get down on the ground. This would be a good option because you can lean over or stand up and do this kind of thing. The thing I like about this is it combines rolling with our body weight, and so we can be in a more kind of relaxed position like this. So it's my body weight combined with rolling and relaxed breathing that achieves the elasticity that we're trying to go for, okay? So if I was doing a knee raise like this and I felt some tenderness in there, then that's where I'm going to be for a while until I acclimate to that. Ideally, you would place, not press, place the opposite leg on there and then do this knee raise about 6 to 8 or 10 repetitions with your lower foot and ankle in a very lazy, relaxed position. How many people have gotten a good massage ever? Raise your hands, okay? What does that massage therapist tell you to do? Relax and breathe, right? They don't tell you to hold tension. They encourage you to relax and breathe, right? And so that's the same thing we want to do here. We want to relax, breathe, and they are going to be able to get in and work that muscle tension out a lot better if you relax, in contrast if you're holding tension. So it's the same concept here. If I hold tension, the whole process isn't going to be as effective. But if I relax, it's going to be a whole lot more effective. And so 6 to 8 or 10 repetitions with my toe pointed up. So I'm getting the back of the lower leg or posterior aspect. And then I'm going to take that top leg off. I'm going to do some circles like this. 2 circles one way, 2 circles the other way, to increase blood flow and oxygen to the area that I just rolled. Then I'm going to rotate my foot in the inside direction or medial aspect like this, place my other leg on top, and repeat the 6 or 8 or 10 repetitions. Now if it's too tender, let's say tender but tolerable as a guideline. So let's say this is tender and it's not tolerable because there's so much tension in there. The modification would be to take that top leg off and roll it this way, so it's not as intense, okay? But if you can tolerate it, place that opposite leg on top there, continue with your knee raises, and then after you do 6 or 8 or 10 repetitions, take that top leg off, do your circles one way, circles the other way. You can even roll it back and forth like this. And then rotate it to the outside. So position 1 was straight up, position 2 is to the inside, position 3 is to the outside. So you do those, the pattern is 6 to 8 knee raises, or 10, followed by the circles, okay, and then shift positions. After you're finished with that, you could even take your knuckles, if you can reach, if it's not too much tension here, and do a little, I call it the human touch. So just getting a little bit more there. You can also massage the bottom of the foot, and just give yourself just a darn good sort of massage. And it's pretty amazing the difference you feel. So let's do a little audience participation. Let's have you all stand up, okay? So you're gonna stand up, and don't anybody force it, but what you're gonna do is you're just gently gonna reach forward as though you're toward your toes and then come back up. And you're gonna feel some tension in the back of your legs, the lower part of the leg and the upper part of the leg, a little bit of tension, okay? So now, what I'm gonna have you do is simply just stretch the back calf. Try and keep your back heel flat on the floor. Just gently stretch so you feel a little bit of stretch right there, okay? So we're stretching, breathing, okay? Straighten back up and then stretch again. Let's alternate. So now we're going to stretch the opposite side a little bit. Okay, so you're bending that front leg. Keep that back leg, nobody bounce, just some gentle stretching. Now come back up like this. Okay. Now, that reach the toes thing we just did, try that again. Reach forward toward your toes and come back up. Now you might have got a little bit further. Now sit back down. This time, you're going to take your knuckles. You're going to lift the leg up like this. You're going to take your knuckles and you're going to self-massage the lower part of the calf. The lower part of the calf. So see how I'm starting with one hand and starting at near the Achilles and working my way up? This is kind of hard sometimes to reach. That's why I love the trigger point tools, okay? All right, now do some circles. Do a little self-massage. Now switch to the opposite side, okay? Do some self-massage on the opposite side. Get those knuckles in there as good as you can. Take the heels or like this part of your hand right here and get a little massage in there. Breathe. Now stand up. Step in place a little bit. Feel the lighter and looser in the bottom of your feet. Okay, now stop. Now reach forward to touch your toes. Wow, I heard some wow. Anybody else wow? Okay, you can sit back down. Okay, so can you imagine just by that little bit of self-massage that we did in the lower part of the calf, how much more you could reach. It's pretty amazing. So now, from the bottom part of the calf, and people say, well, can I do the upper part too? Well, sure, you can do the upper part. So now, there I'm in the upper part. And if you want a little more, you can see how I'm coming up like this, but you don't have to. If you're not doing anything like this, then you can, let's say there's room for improvement if you start doing a little bit of rolling out, okay? Now, I'm gonna move to the upper legs here, okay? And I'm going to turn around just so it's easier for some of you to see. So I'm gonna start in this position right here. So the tool is just above my knee. And I'm gonna start doing baby rocking motions like this. And I'm gonna work my way down the mat, which means the tool is gonna go up my quad, okay? And so this is a way that, again, I'm using the combination of body weight and gentle rolling to increase elasticity in that muscle group. And this is where I'm on the front of the leg. And then I'm going to shift the angle like this. So now I'm at the corner of the leg, or 45 degrees, or a different muscle group. And I'm going to repeat those baby rocking motions from the top of the, or from just above the knee all the way up towards the hip. Breathing, relaxing. Now, if this was a little bit too tender, that's where you could go back to something like this, because you can grade a little bit easier how much tension you're using on with the tool on the leg, like this, okay? Sometimes, well, it's pretty common for walkers and runners to get some tension in the hamstring. Oftentimes that tension that we feel here is related to tightness here and tightness here. So those of you that, for example, sit for prolonged periods of time doing office type work, or are working virtually from home, and you sit for prolonged periods of time, there's a lot of tension in the hips. That can translate to back pain. It can translate to IT band syndrome, which is pain that we feel just below the outside of the knee. And so if you roll the front part of the leg and the corner of the leg out, and even a little bit of the hip and the butt like this, okay, then it's a lot more effective to then not only roll the hamstring like this, but also to then do a hamstring stretch like this, okay? So if everything here is tight, that's going to create tension back here also. So when we have, for example, even plantar fasciitis, which a lot of people can relate to, a lot of you have had it personally, or you know of people that have had plantar fasciitis, it's this obnoxious pain near or around the bottom of the heel, okay? That also can be contributed to by tension right here in the lower part of the calf, which is the first place that I demonstrated tonight in terms of rolling out, okay? So, so we rolled out the lower part of the calf, the quad, the corner, the glutes. Another awesome thing that you can do with the grid is roll the lower back like this. And you can roll the lower back, the middle back, and even the upper back like this. One of my favorite ones I call the Jasper move. And it goes like this, because we used to have a dog named Jasper, and she did this. Not on the grid, but. So that's another awesome thing that you can use with the grid If you travel with it, you can stuff things in there, so it's a little bit more effective that way than a solid one. Any questions about rolling out with any of the tools?
So each section is like 6 to 8 or 10 reps.
Right. That's a good question. Each section is 6 to 8 or 10 reps. Yes. There's nothing real sacred about exactly how many. The thing is you want to start slowly and increase gradually. And it's very important that anytime you roll out, you don't have back pain and you don't have neck pain. So once you learn the techniques, then you can feel free to do more repetitions. You can feel free to repeat a certain area. You can do a little bit more. And part of it really depends on how much time you have. Because people oftentimes ask, how long should I be doing this? Or how frequently? How many times a week? Well, those are great questions. I'm going to turn around and ask you, how much time will you give to doing this? You know, as I've said before, it's one thing for us all to create the time in our lives to do the walking and the running that we're doing, the homework as we call it, right? And still get your work done, still get your chores done, still get your errands done, still take care of everything else you have to take care of. So how much more time is there in the day to do something extra like this? It's going to vary from individual to individual. So depending on how much time you have, you know, that's partially going to determine how much time, how many reps you do. Right. So let's say, for example, people say, should we do it before we go and work out or after we go and work out? Well, ideally, before. Exactly. Before, because we want to loosen our muscles up before we go out and work out. If we were a pro, we would have our own personal massage therapist come and give us a massage before every meet or every game or every competition, right? But we don't have that. So what I like to do, I know where the tension areas are, and guess what? Partly why I know is from when we roll out, you're going to be more aware of where the tension areas are. So I know where those areas are, and let's say I have 4 or 5 minutes, or 6 or 7 minutes before I go. Like on Saturday morning, when I do my Saturday morning homework, guess what I'm doing? I'm rolling out for 6 or 7 minutes on the key areas that I know are going to help me feel a lot better for my run that day. Okay? And so it doesn't have to be, you know, like, let's say ideally you would roll out 25 to 30 minutes twice a week. That's more than what you're doing right now, or if it's more than what you're doing right now, that's pretty significant. Maybe even 15 minutes a couple times a week. And then there's a whole routine that I could go 45 minutes once every couple of weeks and really, really work stuff out. And it's like, you know, where's Debbie?
Right here.
Right there. Debbie is an awesome massage therapist, and if I could go see her even once a month or once every couple months, I would. But guess what? It doesn't always work. So yeah, I'm going to be rolling out on my own as much as I can, and then when I do get to go see her, she doesn't have to spend the first 20 minutes ungluing me because I've been doing some of that maintenance work. Like flossing and brushing your teeth in between going to the dentist. Wouldn't that be kind of yucky if you didn't floss or brush your teeth in between going to the dentist? Think of this as flossing your muscles. You know, really, right? Yeah. And that's speaking from somebody who's got how many years experience?
33.
33 years experience doing massage. So, you know, if you have any questions about it, you can feel free to hit me up someday and I'll give you a little session, or I still do one-on-one sessions, just like you'd schedule and pay Debbie, you know, $1 million or we can do a one-on-one session as long as we can just work out a mutual time that works. And I go through head to toe, basically. I start down here and go up. And it's about 50 minutes of one-on-one. I'm not working on you. I'm teaching you how to work on yourself with the use of various tools. Okay? Any other questions? Awesome.
I do. I have a comment, actually. For people who roll out, I think they get a better massage. They give me better information about what's going on because they're really aware of where their issues are. And like you said, they've gone through and taken out the big chunks, as I say.
That's right. And for those of you out in the World Wide Web that didn't hear that, that was Debbie saying that she believes that people who roll out get a better, more effective massage because they're more aware and they've already been doing some of that work. So the other thing I want to say about rolling out has to do with hydration. You know, oftentimes when we're dehydrated, everything hurts more. Everything hurts more. So after you roll out, sometimes, or after you have a massage, it's not uncommon to be thirsty. So you just loosened up a bunch of junk and a bunch of toxins, so it's a really good idea to go and hydrate after you roll out or after you have a massage. And it's kind of the flip side. If you try to pour water on a rock, there's so much density that water's not going to get in there, right? So if your muscles are all bound up and tightened up, it's going to be more difficult for those muscles to accept the hydration that we try to give those muscles. Once you loosen everything up, they're going to be that much more readily accepting of the hydration. Isn't that cool? I think it's really cool. And with that, I'm going to sign off. And next week, we'll talk about bras.